Well, yeah. I mean, I have a different opinion than maybe most people with that. And this opinion or opinions that I have or viewpoints are just to benefit Penta in the most, impactful way that you can. He did look like a star. The entrance and the presentation, and especially the location, the West Coast, San Jose, California. Los Angeles might have got an even bigger pop last week, and he's definitely a star. He's a star on the West Coast for sure, and I'm sure a lot of the people up and down the West Coast of California or up and down the state of California watch lucha libre, watch Mexican wrestling. That's why I say closer to LA or San Diego even, he would have got even more of a pop if that was possible, which he got an incredible reaction. They made him look like a star, and dare I say it, like I said it before, day one for talents that come from AEW and go to WWE, for some reason, that first day, that first debut, or the first week, or let's just even say the first angle or storyline, they've already had more of an impact and look like bigger stars than months and years in AEW with who's the best. It's you factor in a lot more. Punk's another one. He was wasted in AEW and he comes back. Him and Drew have probably the most captivating storyline that they've had in a very long time. So, with that being said, like we always say, with that being said, take a drink like future episode. We need to have the most amount of impact with the first impression. And I don't feel like that they made the biggest impact with Penta. I'll say this in the beginning too. We're not going to play the audio. Michael Cole got corrected real quick because, the worst kept secret in wrestling. That's fine because we put it in the show notes that they advertised his merchandise that afternoon before the show even came on the air. But at the same time, and what I would have done, speaking of masks, I would have passed out masks to everybody in the crowd. And it made them like glow in the dark. And when it went black, you saw all the outlines of those Penta masks in the crowd. That's like the Al Snow head thing from ECW. It would have been incredible to do that on his debut. At the same time, Michael Cole says, paraphrasing, he's the best luchador that Adam Pearce could find. And then like 10 seconds later, he goes, some say Rey Mysterio is the best luchador, and Penta would be a close second. You know that somebody was in Michael Cole's ear. Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely said, some say the second best luchador in the world, a close second to Rey Mysterio. I mean, there are a lot of luchadors out there. That's a bold claim to make.
It is a bold claim to make, but I would dare say, yeah, second to Rey. They needed to pump him up, but they needed to pump the brakes a little bit and bring it back because Rey was backstage. And I'm sure Hunter, I mean, if it was Vince, it would have probably been a lot worse for Michael Cole. And Vince would yell in Michael Cole's ear anyway, so just for fun. So we're going to get to this. I actually have Penta's entrance that I'll break down as well as the actual match. So we're going to make it a smart board segment. And, I do want to preface this or have somewhat of a disclaimer that this is not coming from a place of just criticizing Penta or just trolling the fact or being contradictory to everything. I look at this as the springboard. No Sin Cara jokes here for everybody, or you can make them in the comments. This is a springboard to put him in there, and he'll never have a second chance to make that first impression. So we're going to start with the entrance, and I'm going to bring it up here for James and everybody.
I was going to say springboard. It'd be more like a trampet, wouldn't it, for Sin Cara?
Yeah, it would.
What was the bull called? The midget wrestler.
Which one?
Which one? There was only one dressed like a bull in the
2010s. El Torito. The mini Vader, mini Mankind, mini Goldust, mini Booker T. That era, right?
Yeah. No, I'm thinking in the 2010s, and he feuded with Hornswoggle. Didn't he have the WLC with him?
That was that too. But I remember when they brought them in, and Al Snow was gonna try. Al Snow had an idea to dress them all the little wrestlers up as bees and call them the Swarm and go after his opponent. So I wonder why that never happened. Maybe Al, there's still a chance you could do it at OVW since you're the promoter and the owner. So put the belt on yourself like every other promoter. here's right here off the bat. This is where we can hide the toolbar. Thank you very much, on that from Coach Lens for updating it. I give him feedback every week. So here we have, I love the lights off, just laying out, no commentary until Michael Cole says the faux pas about the best luchador, but just laying out and letting the crowd react and let them take it in. And I love this, just right here as we're playing it. I love the Titantron. I love the color scheme, the dark, and it blends in well with the ring canvas, right? The dark colors. So here he is right here. I love this right here. Has very much a demon type of vibe to it, doesn't it? Like Finn Balor is the demon a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
or the Fiend kind of thing, the black and red.
I love this. Now here's my question. Did the crowd say the thing with him, or was that part of it? Sounded like an arena effect. Do you think, they just, I would be the one that, if just not to take the chance, I would plug that in to make sure to condition the fans when he does this to say it with him. Do you think the fans legitimately chanted that? Or do you think that...
Can you play it? Why don't you play it for a few seconds?
There's no audio.
Oh, damn. Thing is, you can run the risk of doing the Mercedes Moné thing where you put CEO in the music.
Yeah.
And it just completely gets people to do the opposite.
What do they do? OEC? OEC? The opposite?
Yeah, OEC.
So what I want to say here too, my buddy Ben Hameen always says, and we're going to go to it right here. This is great. This is great right here. Awesome stuff. I love the pyro and everything. He looks like a star, no matter what. This is a great little La Parka walk. Love that too. Little Scott Hall La Parka walk.
Yeah. Just give it a regular play. Just give it a regular play for a few seconds.
There it is right there. Now here's where I'm pausing it right here, because this is the part where everybody loses a match against Ring Attire. The jackets are undefeated. It doesn't look cool trying to take your jacket off. And that was the first. I'm just splitting hairs because you have to think about everything that makes you look cool, makes you look like you have mystique, and makes you look absolutely. This guy's one of the most coordinated athletic talents that have ever lived. And here he is taking off his jacket. Great stuff. No, come on, get that jacket. Damn jacket. I think that was real. My jacket right there. So
did you ever see the Undertaker one where he couldn't get his hood off?
I think so, yeah. It's on the they're the worst kind of like accessories and actors. They're like animal actors. They'll do whatever they want. Now, what I want to say here, this is where, and I've been guilty of this as much as anybody else, if not more. You're very excited. You're in WWE. Everybody dreams of going to WWE. Let's not kid ourselves. That's the childhood dream, to get there to the big stage. He's here, and he mixes between very high levels of poise and presence and charisma to the excitement. What I believe, it's hard to avoid. It's hard to resist. The excitement that he's there and the fire up comes through. Vince McMahon gave me, like right here, see how that's awesome. That's awesome right there. Now he goes back into his thing. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's a little thing, but Vince McMahon, and he was nowhere near as bad as I've been when I was like really excited and had energy. Vince would say, if you show all that energy on the way to the ring, you have to raise the energy. I'm using my like visual aid to raise the energy even more. If you start out cool, calm, poised with presence, then when you switch the gears up, it's much like a match. You just don't start off like 100 miles an hour, because you have to go 200 miles an hour with that. So here he comes in the ring. This is perfect right here. He's very, very fired. I can tell he's very excited. He's very fired up right there. Looks out to the crowd. I love this shot. Like, nobody does it better than WWE with this. The only thing that would have made it better is if, don't take your chance, but the drone shot flying around and everything would have been awesome. This is a star's entrance. Everything I said about kind of like the jacket and everything, you're just trying to eliminate any kind of mistakes like that, or anything that doesn't make you look cool or coordinated. So, and dare I say, I would probably have him have a piece of attire, or if they were selling the shirt, have him wearing the shirt. I don't know if they have a
Mm.
T-shirt available, but that should have been what he would have worn. And he usually wore a shirt and they would cut off at the sides, right? And he would just kind of tear it off over his head. He wouldn't have like sleeves or anything, right? It would be like Razor Ramon's type of T-shirt.
Mm.
So that's you want to sell your merch. So another thing, and I think it was in honor of Ray that he didn't do it, but to have that mask that's available on WWE Shop and give it to a little kid before you an extra mask. Like take your, you have 2 masks on, take the upper mask off and give it to a kid before you get in the ring. And maybe that's something that's Ray's thing when he would just, you know, put butt heads with the kids who have the mask on and stuff like that. So we're gonna get into the match here. Now, this is an excellent spot right here. Although Chad's punching him a little bit too much. I would have had it before he even threw one punch. Penta has him, gives him a little rabbit punches, and this is awesome right here. Boom, right there. And then the drop kick. I love the vault up right here. The fans reacted to that. If he can hold himself up there for a good 5-10 seconds, hit it there, that is awesome. So he hits a drop kick, much like Jeff Hardy, but even better. Boom, right there. Now we're coming up to the point now where I'm starting to disagree with the way the match went. And I will say this too. Why are you sacrificing this guy? Why are you not giving Penta locals that can really showcase what he can do? Not that Chad can't, but if you want to introduce that style, give him locals for 3 to 4 weeks to really showcase without sacrificing Chad Gable, who's been an incredibly, like asset, an incredible asset to everybody that he works with.
Chad Gable, a statement of intent. He was going for the IC title. He was a well pushed character throughout 2024. I mean, if you just have like the Rodney Mack thing, where they just kept having Rodney just beat, lower card guys, or just straight up enhancement guys, for one-offs for months leading up to it, then at some point I think it wears down on you. But at least with this, I mean, you've got a name that Penta beats on the first week. It's a statement of intent. I think that they intend to do quite a lot with Penta, at least in the initial.
Well, what I would challenge you on is that a lot of people have beat Chad Gable. He's not at the point where he was on a momentum swing to be pushed. He ends up putting everybody over. So, and I would challenge that with, what about the Ryback formula, which was really the last time they successfully, and they threw multiple ones after weeks, 2 and 3 and 4 people. But what I'm saying is, the old way, you're the one that's a big fan of WWE superstars and challenge for,
I love it.
Well, why not have Penta go out and, like you love, have him go out and kill somebody? Why not? See, you
because
just
he's not really a killer, though. He's not really a killer, though, is he? I mean, if it's going to be like a Ryback or like a Braun Strowman or something like that, then yeah, I mean, destroying enhancement talent. Whereas Penta, I get. Here's the other question I was going to ask.
Oh, I'm gonna counter that point right away. You just walked in it again.
Well, before I do, why don't you put Penta with someone like Dragon Lee, and then you've got a luchador to work with, and then you can do all your big spots in week 1, unless you don't want to do all your big spots in week 1.
Well, I'm going to challenge you on that again, because this is, as far as a first impression, let's talk about this, okay? There's a lot of things that can happen that can go wrong. This match also, with Chad Gable, forces you to almost book it 50-50 in Penta's debut. And even if it's 60-40, 70-30, it's got to be 95-99 to whatever left over for the person that's putting Penta over. Do you see the trap you're in when you have somebody that has some value? What do? You got to give them something, right? We got to get a little bit of heat, but that also knocks away at Penta's impact, his mystique, and how dominant he can be. The anticipation of Penta being like, man, I can't wait till he gets to now. Chad Gable on week 3, 4, or 5 being his first mini angle and storyline, and Penta ends up going over on a pay-per-view or a big show. Do you see what I mean? Like if they started with locals and then Chad Gable said, something to the effect of a little bit of, since they're doing the USA thing anyway, go back to Mexico, go back across the border, whatever could get Chad heat without the bad kind of heat. Then Chad Gable versus Penta Saturday night's main event. He's already got a few wins. You have enough footage for a package for B-roll, and Chad can get heat on him before Saturday night's main event to make Penta a little bit of heat, not anything that'll take him out. But here's what I'm going to talk about right here. This is the part that when you're looking at this, he goes to swing. This guy's first match, okay? The first match, who knows what can go wrong? Your job also is protect both talents, but definitely protect Penta from any potential injuries or getting banged up to where he can't perform and keep the momentum going. So what happens? German suplex on the apron. Now, do you agree with that?
Well, the apron never pins anyone.
Yeah,
so it can't be
but
that
he's out. Look, this is what Penta looks like now in his debut match.
Uh-huh.
You've already shown the vulnerability. You've killed a little bit of the mystique, the impact, and the dominance that a guy, Chad Gable, who's put everybody over, and it's not Chad's fault. Chad should be pushed more and mean more, but when he does this to Penta, it doesn't put anybody over. You know Chad's going to lose. So it's kind of like you're delaying the inevitable, but during the delay of the inevitable, you're also sacrificing Penta a little bit with this. And this is where 50-50 booking in this sense can hurt a talent. So, but the thing is, he took a German and look, he's right back. So he didn't even sell it. So it didn't do any favors to Chad Gable to do an impactful move of like a German on the apron that Penta needs to really no-sell in a way and get right back up. And this is incredibly impressive. Now, here's the next thing. This is where it starts with this match, because Penta's a great worker. He is a great worker, and I watched a lot of his stuff in AEW. I watched his stuff with Kenny Omega with that great segment. That was in All In Chicago, where Jericho switched places with Penta, right? And showed up and took the mask off, correct?
Yeah.
Like the first.
Did you watch him in Lucha Underground as well?
Well, yeah, Penta was awesome in Lucha Underground. He was presented as a star, and that style was kind of like everybody did the same style in a way. So it was very exciting and very dangerous and violent. But here, I'm just bringing it up as a worker. I'm looking at this. Mexican Destroyer looked awesome, looked incredible. How many people on the roster? I'm gonna put a name out there with this move and other moves. Can Drew McIntyre take this? Can Roman Reigns take this? Can Solo Sikoa take this? Can Jacob Fatu probably could. He does a moonsault. But you have to look at the people that you want to work with at the top or where you want to go. I mean, can CM Punk take this move? I've never seen CM Punk do like a moonsault or a backflip or anything like that. Maybe you could. Maybe I could. I don't know. I've never tried it. But that move there is now relegated to a cruiserweight type of move. Depending upon, I can think of probably other talents that may not even be comfortable taking that move. This here and the finish, James, I want everybody to go back and look at what we talked about with the Beverly Brothers Shaker Heights Spike. And they had locals too, and they were doing it, but they never did that move to one full-time roster talent. They never did it. They were never in a storyline, never in an angle, and never went further than working locals. Am I off base with that? That was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, on the house shows, the were Legion of Doom, I think, and Earthquake and
Typhoon.
Typhoon. I just lost my mind there. Basically, they work people that they couldn't possibly do that move on, or who, like the Legion of Doom, who were big enough guys anyway, would never take it in a million years. So you said that at the time. That completely limited them. Not only did they hurt people, it limited them as far as how far they were going to go up the sort of chain of command as far as tag teams, and where they stayed was the absolute bottom. I mean, it didn't hurt that their characters were terrible.
Yeah, well Penta's not going to stay at the bottom, but you see the ceiling for this, you're hitting a hard ceiling in some
It's
ways.
like the Andrade ceiling kind of thing.
Well,
You're just going to be soaring in the middle, competing for the speed title.
the that's what it is. This is the I wish they had a departure with the entrance, the other things, the presentation, letting him still be Penta, bringing over the exact gimmick and everything from AEW Lucha Underground. Great job on that. I love the consistency because you don't want to start them all over again with something like that. But this formula and this, how should I say, experiment has been done multiple times. Andrade, um, Sin Cara was the worst example of trying to make him special, and you made it worse. Ray is the only one that worked out. But Ray works around big guys, and Ray does the David and Goliath matches a lot. So if you look at Ray's moves, does Ray ever pick anybody up? He never picks anybody up. He can out wrestle, he can go around, and Penta could do that too. And he's bigger than Ray, but it's still the same formula. He's going to look like Ray next to Drew. He's not going to look that big next to Roman Reigns and other people like that. So when I'm looking at this, it's with the eyes of when we did what went wrong with the Shaker Heights spike, what went wrong with the Beverly Brothers push, that they capped themselves off prematurely in their career in WWE. So right here, and you're talking about heels and being vicious, and they're trying to, to hurt their opponents and everything. So let's go ahead and look at that. Oh, by the way, kick out on the Mexican Destroyer. So it didn't mean anything that Chad Gable kicked out. So somebody kicked out on his debut match of a move that's really, really impressive. Dare I say, they should never went for the cover. Because the kick out is a disconnected, well, maybe everything you do is not that great or impactful. Just wait. As a talent, if I debuted in WWE under these circumstances, you have to look at it very, very, how should I say, the way I look at things, very hard on myself. So in week 2 or match 2 or whatever you do, you correct those things earlier rather than later. Now, Penta's a babyface, right? Penta's, going to cut a promo. His family's in the audience. It's such a heartfelt promo. So you're saying this guy's a babyface. He's a good dude. Well, no, he's not. You know why? Because he's going to break somebody's arm. What a great guy. That is not a baby. Now, that's a Penta move, but that's not a babyface move. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Plus, it's the right arm. Now, he does that all the time. But I'm saying, you're going to work somebody's right arm throughout the match and then try to break the right arm, or you're going to work their left arm and then try to break the right arm. Do you see the holes in it?
I was thinking of Pete Dunne. You know when he used to do the finger?
Yeah, the finger,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah, did you, even when he was a babyface, did you feel the same way with him doing that?
Yes, in a way. In a way, unless somebody's trying to hurt you and you go back on them. And in other words, if somebody was trying to break Penta's arm and tried to injure his arm, and then he comes back and pulls that out. I don't have a great answer. This is where the moveset of Penta may need to be adjusted because the fans assume, hey, and he is a great talent, and that looks great. It looks like it hurts. I don't know. It might hurt for all I know these days, but I'm just splitting hairs with this, that the debut could have went much, much better. Now we're going to get to the finish, and we're going to apply the same Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, anybody that's taller than Penta, because I have a story about that too. So
Penta is billed at 5'11", by the way. I was looking because I looked at that because I think Chad Gable's billed at 5'8".
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that was another reason why Penta was with Chad Gable, to make it look like Penta is, well, one, bigger, but also not one of the smaller cruiserweights, because there is, the luchadors, because there are so many small luchadors that it'd be good to get someone near a 6 foot, and that's going to play well for him.
Okay, so I have this still image up here. They're basically almost the same height. You booked somebody that obviously you want him to look bigger than he might be next to a Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, or anybody like that. But eventually they're going to have to coexist on TV in some way, form, or fashion. So how do you do that with Penta? Now, this is where my red flag goes up. Penta driver, great. Chad Gable, 5'8", Penta 5'11", right? That's what you just said. It was
Build, yeah.
billed at, but it was still dangerously close to Chad Gable coming down very high on his head, neck, and shoulder area. Juventud Guerrero would do the Juvi driver, which is basically this, but a Michinoku driver. He did it to Jerry Lynn, who I believe might have been 3 to 4 inches taller. I'm not exactly, but he's definitely taller than Juvi. Juvi hurt his shoulder, hurt Jerry's shoulder with the Juvi driver because the taller guy. It's the same thing as Ridge Holland and Big E with the belly to belly on the floor that broke Big E's neck. The height has to be taken into account. What's going to happen with this Penta driver on a Drew McIntyre? Can he even fold him up enough to turn him around and do this? Can he do this to Drew McIntyre? Can he do this to Roman Reigns? Can he do that to somebody that's very wide and heavy like a Solo Sikoa, a Jacob Fatu? Sure, he can do it to Sami Zayn. He can probably do it to Kevin Owens. He could do it to, but still, those guys are taller than Chad Gable. Is there going to be injuries based on this type of bump? Because it is a pretty, you're stacked up pretty tight, and you're landing high no matter what height you are. Is there potential for, all you got to do is injure one of the guys that are figured in or one of the guys that are politically figured in, then what happens to Penta? Like the
Mr.
Sin
Kennedy.
Cara botches. Get figured in and you're already there. I know with Sin Cara there at the time, Del Rio and him had a lot of heat from Mexico, so he was already, I think, 2 strikes against him when he came into WWE. But I'm going to let you talk because my viewpoint from all this was to give Penta the best launching pad to get as over as he can, work the top guys, and make a ton of money from matches, merchandise, and all that stuff.
I think with Penta's debut, I think for the most part it went very well. I mean, ultimately that's all you can do. Nothing's ever going to be 100% perfect, I guess. And I take on board, I'm sure a lot of people watching will take on board the criticisms, the sort of like micro issues that could all improve for the next few weeks and everything. I wanted to make, he does a bit of a slip on one of the moves where he tries to bounce off the ropes. That was like one mini botch. I didn't know if you were going to pull that up or not.
I don't have that clip, but I know what you're talking about. And
yeah, it was barely anything.
Well, you know what that is? I know exactly what that is, and it's not Penta's fault. It's just that adjustment.
It's the ropes.
Ropes instead of
cable.
Ropes instead of cables. And that's something to where I would have had Penta possibly, if he didn't already, he probably did get in the ring or maybe even went to the performance center. But I would have had Penta, if they even had house shows, live events, had him work 2, 3, or 4 of those to get used to the ropes. But you're right. That's a great point too. He's incredibly athletic and he did incredibly well not slipping. Sin Cara, I think, wasn't prepared as well. And that's why he kept slipping and botching and doing all that from week 1. Then he got inside of his own head. And I said before, you make one mistake, you try to correct mistake 1, you make 2 more, you try to correct the 3, you make 6 more. That's kind of what happened. So this is not a slight on. This is actually what I'm hoping Triple H, the production people, the writers, the agents all got together, whoever's in charge of getting Penta over and keeping him over, looked and said, okay, week 1 looked really good, looked like a star. Maybe not the jacket. We'll get you a shirt that you can, give to a kid or whatever. You get up there. Don't be too excited because you have to, Walter Payton, you have to act like you've been in the end zone before 100 times. You got to play it cool. Being fired up and feeding off the crowd, incredibly difficult to resist. Trust me, inside you're probably shaking, you're sweating. And then when it comes out just a little bit, did you feel that on the entrance? He was so big star, look at me, I do the cool walk, and then I'm firing, oh God, I love everybody. You know what I mean? That was the real human being. That's fine. But it's about a larger than life persona, not a humanized persona. And then with the match, it should have been, which I say 5, maybe 3 to 5 moves of doom and just showcasing it. And Chad Gable, I swear, he should have got nothing. I like Chad Gable as a talent and everything, but if Penta caught him with something or did something, like say Chad's cutting a promo, Penta, he did, I'm thinking out loud. Something happens to where Chad does get a little heat on him, grabs the microphone and starts talking and starts, talking about himself, gets caught, and then it goes home. That's kind of a different, gets Chad more over, and Penta just got bipped or something, got a punch, an eye poke, and kind of dropped down the cell a little bit, but didn't get Germaned on the apron, and he's out flat on the floor. They need to protect Penta to a degree that, like, I think you should have locals up until maybe a Saturday night's main event rematch against Chad. And then we can have a nice competitive match.